Hey, thanks, Tim. Yeah, it's my pleasure today to introduce Xavier Brewer. Is a friend of mine. He's the assistant coach at Clemson right now for the defense, DBs. Before that, in 2008, he actually came to Clemson and Dabo took over. And so he's been a part of the entire culture build at Clemson and coming from a team that was just excited to be playing in Music City Bowls to now the juggernaut of the college football world. I was there at the same time as him, and his last game actually was probably the most pivotal game in Clemson history, and coming against LSU in the 2012 Peach Bowl, where they held a LSU team that had Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry to 0 first downs over the last 12 years, really showing the world that Clemson can play with big boys. But he's an up-and-coming coaching star, and on right now, so I'll turn it over to him.
I appreciate it, Chris, and thank you guys for having me on. I apologize about a couple weeks ago where I left y'all hanging. I know y'all probably had a lot better things to do, but I'm a firm believer God didn't say oops, and I think this is a great time, probably even a better time than then, to be able to just speak to you guys. Obviously, in the time we're in right now, and the different things within our own program that we're dealing with, I think that this is a great opportunity to speak to you guys about things that are just bigger than football. And so I just wanted to start. He introduced me a little bit. From Jacksonville, Florida. Came to Clemson, obviously knew Coach Sweeney since I was about 16 years old. I'm 30 now. And like he said, was able to be a part of the program when it started and got a chance to play a little pro ball. And then I did some personal training back in Jacksonville, Florida. And once I finished playing, and then got the opportunity to come back up here this past season. So just been enjoying the journey, enjoying the growth process. And but obviously just want to touch on a lot of things that are going on today. When the Corona started, I was a part of a small group that was obviously Christian-based, and we meet every Wednesday night. And starting last Wednesday, not this past Wednesday, the one before that, the conversation obviously started to change. Well, we just wanted to have an open dialogue with each other. It's 12 guys right now, 6 black, 6 white, and we just want to have an open dialogue and let people share how they feel. And I think for me, more time than any other time that I've been alive, growing up so I was originally born in Denver, and I lived there till I was about 12. And I lived in the inner city, mainly black and Mexican. And then when I moved to Florida, it was the complete opposite. It was all white. And so it was kind of a culture shock. And then obviously going to a white college, more time than any other time in my life, I've been able to have real conversations about the different things that being a black man in this country you have to deal with. Obviously, it's unfortunate that certain events had to happen for it to come to this, but I'm just thankful and hopeful for the future now because I've just had so many positive conversations with so many different people. People being able to willingly listen and learn, And at the end of the day, for me, it's about removing ignorance. Ignorance is the lack of knowledge. And the lack of knowing others' experiences can lead to ignorance. So, again, I think that with all of the conversations that have been going on, I've gained a lot of optimism about the future. And then we had a team meeting just recently, was actually player-led, and we were able to break off into 10 different groups, and the guys were able to just share their hearts. Again, the same kind of format that we're doing my small group. And, again, that left me with a lot of hope, too, because it was just so awesome to see, these young, brilliant minds, in their hearts, and then hearing their different stories, and then seeing their true care for each other and their different experiences. I mean, one of the guys only a couple of coaches knew that this actually happened right before he got to Clemson. He's hanging out in front of his apartment complex, and the cop pulls up, doesn't know anything about him, doesn't know that he's actually about to go to Clemson. He's just sitting there hanging out and listening to music. The cop comes up, pulls a gun on him. Another story, guy got pulled over, running a stop sign. Obviously, it was his fault, but he ended up spending 10 days in jail. Just a lot of different injustices, different stories like that a lot of their white teammates would have never even heard of. And so it's just a great opportunity for them to just kind of voice each other's experiences. And but Coach Sweeney's son, he actually had a verse that he shared with the group. And then he calls me the next day, a Bible verse, and he calls me the next day, is like, I got a God wink. Remember that Bible verse I shared? Is the Bible verse of the day. And it was so relevant to our times right now, what we're dealing with. And it was 1 Peter 4:8. And it said, above all, brotherly, above all, show sincere love to each other, because love brings about the forgiveness of many sins. And for me, that hit me in a way, because at the end of the day, I don't think it's a race. It is obviously a race problem in this country, but from a foundational standpoint, it's a heart problem in this country, where I feel like a lot of people in our country just need a heart change. And, and then just coming from an understanding of what's going on right now, I think there's definitely a shift and a change about to come within our own justice system. And it's a small thing in the small thing in the big picture of everything that needs to change in our country for equality to even come close to happening. But it's also a big step in the right direction, because, again, if these events didn't happen, it's not likely that we would be able to have the conversations we have now and see the changes we have now. And like even today, Clemson just changed their honors college name from Calhoun, who was actually a former slave owner and oppressor and white supremacist. They actually just changed the name today. So a lot of things are changing for the positive. Have a long way to go, but again, just optimistic for the future. And again, just going back to that Bible verse, is love can cover a multitude of sins.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness of many sins, and that's one thing that I've been discussing with a lot of my white friends and black friends, is like, from the white perspective, just having different conversations, I noticed that there needs to be a little bit more understanding of the fact that slavery did happen. Are we slaves today? No. But Jim Crow did happen. Lynchings did happen, and 100% of those people, there was no justice for them at all. And to say that, things have changed a lot, but there's still a long way to go. But you also got to understand that there still is generational trauma that's still seen today in a lot of different ways. And I think a lot of that's coming to light now, and I'm thankful that it's coming to light, because that's the only way things can change, and the most important thing is to have those uncomfortable conversations. Because I think even for myself, I've always wanted to express a lot of different things, but it almost feels like it was going to deaf ears. So it got to the point where it's like, okay, what's the point of even talking about it? We talk about it amongst ourselves around like other black men, but talking to anybody and everybody about it, it's, like I said, it just goes on mute ears, because a lot of the times it'll be, well, you know what, so what? You're not a slave now. You don't have segregation now. But again, there's a lot of oppressive things within the system that, that still goes on today, and that still needs to be changed. And two of our guys actually got into it about some of the things that needs to change. And then, so like my next step was to talk about, from that perspective, is the acknowledgement. And then, but also from the black perspective, we need to acknowledge it as well and understand it, but also, not use it as an excuse to kind of hold ourselves back. We need to use it as motivation and power and strength, and then focus on what we can change around us. Because one of the guys said, he's going to be in the top 10 pick next year in the NFL draft. He said, what I know, because the first step was they were talking about how they feel. And then the next step was, okay, so what can we do to make a change? And so one of the things he suggested is, like, when I get an opportunity to get back to my community, I'm going to start a college fund, to get people from my inner city opportunities to go to college. Because I know it's, for myself and for everyone, it starts with education, and, and gaining knowledge of the world, and how things work and how the world works. And, that's where it really starts. And so I was just encouraged by that, because at the end of the day, that's why I encourage them, man. It does start with you. It does start with you making an impact, where you can make an impact, with who you can make an impact with. And then another one of the white players, he acknowledged, that there's a lot of things that do need to change. It's not going to happen overnight, but it starts with, making steps, every day, making a conscious decision to do that. And so again, for all the everyone in this conversation right now in the Zoom meeting, I just want to challenge you. The same challenge I gave them is, go speak to someone you may not usually speak with, and just have those uncomfortable conversations, because that's where growth comes. You know, no challenge, no change is what we live by over here. And so I challenge you to go, again, talk to someone of a different race that you would never usually talk to. Start simple, you know, just how are you doing? You know, how are you really doing? How's life treating you? And then go into, you know, what was it like for you growing up? What was life like for you growing up? What was your family dynamic like? What was the neighborhood like you grew up in? And then, because on the one side of it, white people, you'll never understand what it's like being black in America, and that's fine. But you'll also never even have a glimpse of a perspective if you never, you know, asked. And so that goes back to what I was saying with the only way to remove ignorance is to try to know the experience of others, you know. So I just want to challenge everyone on this call today to do that. You know, just go have those uncomfortable conversations. Reach out to somebody maybe you know already of a different race that you haven't been able to have talked to in a while. Just reach out, see how they're doing, and then again go to that conversation and see how they're really feeling. You know, and I guarantee you, 100% of the time they'll be willing to talk, because this is an emotional time. It's a sensitive time, but it's important that we're able to listen and also be able to disagree without being disagreeable. That's another thing that I've been thankful for the talks that I've had, is they've all been civil. You know, we haven't always seen eye to eye with all of our conversations, but we've been able to have an open dialogue where we can disagree without being disagreeable. And, you know, things get overly emotional one side or the other. You know, it's more so, I feel like my job, my ultimate purpose of coaching is I want to make a difference for the next generation, but I also want to be able to be a voice as well, you know, that educates all people when any opportunity I can get. And so, again, 2 weeks ago, I was probably going to talk about football and see how we were doing, let you guys know how we're doing. But obviously, in the time we're in, the space we're in, I think it'd be an injustice not to, you know, speak up on, you know, how I'm feeling, different things I've been going through. Because I know when it first started, I was going through a range of emotions, anger, you know, fear. I think, you know, George Floyd could have literally been my little brother, who actually drives trucks in Denver, Colorado right now. And just helplessness, you know, hopelessness. And then again, just being able to have a lot of these, you know, the first couple of days I cried every morning. And then again, being able to have different conversations and just seeing the love of my white brothers and white sisters who reach out to me and, you know, put their arms around me and put their arms around like our players and different coaches. It's giving me hope. Again, that goes back to the verse about how love can cover up a multitude of sins. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, I just think it starts there. It starts with our own hearts. It starts with our own thoughts and how we treat each other. And then change is going to come, and I'll hopeful for the future. I'll open it up for any questions or that you guys got or statements. I'm open to hearing any guys' thoughts of what you guys been feeling and going through during this time.
Perfect. Thank you, Xavier.